Hello, and thank you for tuning in to the Fi Mastery Podcast, where our focus is on providing tools, resources, and insights that empower driven individuals to become the masters of their own financial independence journey. My name is Peter Donisanu, and today we're going to talk about why you should consider giving your family the gift of knowledge this holiday season. Now, for many of us who want to pass along generational wealth, there's typically more of a focus on transferring assets, often with little consideration for how it'll be used generations on down the line. That's why if you're serious about leaving a legacy and want to avoid the shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves fate that often grips family wealth transfers, then focusing on transferring knowledge should be your priority in the months ahead. That's because without a solid knowledge transfer process in place, your money simply has no purpose beyond the legal documents that few individuals in your family will understand 100 years from now. So with that, let's dive into today's podcast. With Christmas just days away, some of you may be still scrambling to find that last perfect gift for your family. Well, before you head out the door for that one last minute purchase, let me suggest giving the gift of knowledge this year to your family. You see, if you're planning to leave behind any measure of wealth to your loved ones, then giving the gift of knowledge is crucial to this end. And why is that? Well, that's because asset transfers without knowledge transfers can lead to failed wealth transfers. And the trouble is that many well-intentioned individuals aim to build generational wealth, but often are doomed to failure because they focus solely on the money. And so what's the big deal here? Can't you just put together a complex legal structures to ensure that your assets go where they need to go from now and into near perpetuity? Well, the trouble is that when wealth is handed down without a proper purpose or without a story, it risks becoming just a mere number. Shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves and 3 generations, as the saying goes. And so why does this outcome seem so inevitable? Well, it's because wealth without wisdom is like a ship without a compass. Indeed, imagine amassing a fortune to be enjoyed by family members not even born yet the next generation squanders it all because they can't appreciate what the money's even about. It's painful, right? So then what should you focus on to prevent this outcome? Well, here again, focus on transferring knowledge. Indeed, without instilling the values that helped build your wealth into the people who will eventually receive your wealth, there's a risk that generations to come might not fully comprehend the significance of their inheritance, leading to potential mismanagement and eventual loss of the money altogether. Now, by this point, you might be thinking to yourself, I'll just work with an attorney and set up a complex estate plan, and my family should be all set, right? Well, the truth is that no matter what sort of complicated legal structure you put in place, without the right guidance, your heirs likely won't be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor for very long. Indeed, according to a study conducted by the Williams Group of more than 3,200 wealthy families, the data suggests that 70% of families will lose their wealth by the second generation, and 90% will lose their fortunes during the lives of the third generation. And if the data isn't enough to convince you, then you can take it from the sayings that span cultures from East and West that wealth often doesn't last beyond the third generation. Indeed, the term shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves is often used to illustrate that fleeting nature that wealth is not grounded in a solid foundation. And so what exactly does the saying mean? Well, it means that the first generation works hard to save the money, the second generation maintains or spends it, and so by the third generation, the money's gone, and your family, well, they're back to where you all started. In simpler terms, it's like the cycle of where a family goes from being poor to being rich and then back to being poor in 3 generations. That's why it's essential to have a plan in place to transfer the knowledge you've acquired so future generations not only know how to be good stewards of your wealth, but also how to make good decisions with it. All right, so now that you understand why it's essential to have a knowledge transfer plan in place, let's talk about 2 ways to pass this knowledge down. And here we're talking about formal and informal transfers. So then where do we begin with formal knowledge transfers? Well, here we're talking about the structured transfer of hard knowledge. And one way to undertake this approach is to jump right in and bring in a financial professional who can teach your family the basics and keep them informed about various developments in your financial affairs. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, why a group setting? Well, these meetings are more than just lectures. They're a space for your family to come together to share their concerns, to ask questions, and to learn as a united front. Indeed, with a seasoned financial professional at the helm, your family is not just consuming information, but they're actively participating in discussions that directly relate to your unique financial story. In a way, it's like having a guided conversation about your family's financial history, your financial present, and your financial future all in one room. You could think of it in a way like a family reunion, but the purpose here goes beyond the bonding and includes an intentional knowledge transfer centered on how the wealth was created and what it could be used for. Now, in some situations, personal nuances related to your estate might get lost in a group setting, and so that's where one-on-one financial planning meetings likely make more sense. Now, these meetings allow each family member to understand their roles and their responsibilities, as well as the nuances of the wealth they'll eventually receive. At the same time, it allows them to grasp the intricacies of their coming financial responsibility and ask questions that might be too specific or counterproductive in a group setting. And finally, when it comes to formal knowledge transfers, you could consider instructing instruction-based learning. Now, in this situation, there's a formal, standardized curriculum that's presented to each family member in a systematic way. Now, here you might be thinking to yourself, now, isn't this just school? Well, in essence, it is, but it's school specifically designed to understand your family's financial situation and what it will take to keep it growing from one generation to the next. And what exactly is included in these courses? Well, these structured courses lay down the foundations of the financial knowledge, from understanding the basics of investments to the complexities of taxation and wealth preservation. And while this approach seems a little bit complex on the surface, in the end, what it does is equips your family with the tools and the resources and ultimately the insights to help navigate the tricky waters of managing generational wealth. All right, so now that we've covered a little bit about formal knowledge transfers, let's stop right here for a minute. It's at this point that some of you may be thinking to yourselves, my wealth or my family situation may not warrant this level of detail or structure. Or when it comes down to it, your family might not even care that much about the technicalities of money management. So then if this is your situation, then this is where informal knowledge transfers come into play. And what exactly are we talking about here? Well, while formal knowledge transfers are all well and good, the fact is that information retention rates among these events tend to decline at a rapid pace after they take place. However, the good news is that knowledge transfers through informal means like family traditions and family rituals are likely to improve knowledge retention rates and increase buy-in from most family members. And so what's so special about family traditions? Well, family traditions and rituals tend to create an intimate and emotionally charged environment. That's because when you gather for special occasions, the bonds between family members, they deepen and they foster a sense of trust and open communication. And at the same time, unlike formal education, which can sometimes feel distant and detached, these family moments encourage candid conversations and sharing of your own personal experiences. At the same time, family traditions and rituals provide a historical context for your wealth and also for your legacy. How so? Well, as you participate in these time-honored practices, your family gains a first-hand understanding of your values, your principles, and the stories that have shaped your wealth journey. Now, this context is crucial for understanding the purpose and the responsibilities associated with the generational wealth that you're handing down, which can often be lost in a purely academic setting. So then, from this perspective, the emotional and the psychological impact of family traditions just simply can't be overstated. At the same time, this emotional connection serves as a powerful motivator for responsible money management and philanthropic endeavors among most family members, which is central to generational wealth transfer planning. All right, so by now you'll likely appreciate how an informal approach like traditions and rituals can be more effective than formal approaches that involve classroom settings when it comes to knowledge transfers. So then how exactly do you go about building these family traditions centered around wealth if your family doesn't really have any traditions to begin with? Well, you can start by creating your family narrative. And what is a family narrative? Well, you can think of it as a collection of shared experiences, of shared values and beliefs that are more than just tales told around the dinner table, but instead serves as an oral tradition providing direction and grounding for the entire family. And why is this important? Well, when your family has a solid understanding of its past and how your values have shaped the decisions you made over the years to build your wealth, then future generations likely will understand what it will take to steward their generational wealth for decades to come. Now, another thing that your family narrative does is that it helps build emotional resilience through vicarious learning. How so? Well, every story of triumph, every lesson from failure, and every moment of perseverance equips the next generation with the emotional tools they need to navigate the challenges of handling money and guiding the family. It's like a beacon illuminating the fact that money, while abundant in opportunities, also carries this responsibility and potential pitfalls. But more than that, it shows future generations that previous generations have blazed certain trails, making them realize that they potentially have what it takes to continue the family legacy. At the same time, this shared narrative does more than teach, it connects the family together. And why is this important? Well, in an era where individualism is often celebrated, a collective family story fosters unity. It offers a sense of belonging. It reminds every member of their roots and the journey that their ancestors took to get them here. So then while an asset transfer can sometimes stir tensions, when it's coupled with a shared narrative, it actually becomes a unifying force, ensuring that while assets may eventually change hands, the bond within the family remains unbroken. All right, so by now you'll likely appreciate how essential it is to build traditions centered around your family narratives. Now, the big question here is how exactly do you go about building these narratives in the first place? Well, one approach to consider is simple storytelling to share your family's journey. And what does this look like? Well, it's crucial to start somewhere away from the glimmer and the temptation of shiny screens, like somewhere in your living room or around the dining room table. Then you can begin by diving in and telling your own tales of life's hardships, life's triumphs, and the moments that led to your newfound wealth and the purpose of your money. Now, there's no right or wrong way to do this. What's important here is just to simply tell your story. And over time, this practice will instill in younger family members an appreciation of the origins of your family's affluence and provide a context that paints a vivid picture of perseverance, hard work, and wise decision-making to keep the money in the family together. Now, when sharing the tales of your family's financial journey, it's essential to highlight the challenges and the risks, the turning points, and the values that paved the way to your family's wealth. Indeed, ultimately, it's crucial to convey not just the successes, but also the ethos and the principles that influence influence those pivotal decisions in some of life's darkest moments. Now, another way to share your family narrative is take your family on an annual retreat where the focus isn't just about relaxation, but also financial education. This informal approach can be used to offset the formal approach of a classroom or instruction delivery, like we talked about earlier. Now, it's crucial to be mindful in situations like these because the focus should be more on building your narrative and your story and less on educating your family. That's because the last thing you want to do is bore your family to death on vacation, leading them to forget everything they just learned about your life story. So then if you're trying to use a vacation to teach your family some financial lessons, instead of offering generic money lessons, make it more personal and weave in some of the good and the bad experiences that affected your family's wealth. How so? Well, if your wealth grew from a small real estate investment, then share that story and dive into the principles of real estate investment. This way, the retreat becomes a mix of personal tales and actual financial insights that ensures younger generations and younger family members are both connected to the past and prepared for the future. Now, another way to ground and share your family's narrative is to touch on those moments where you've received assistance from others. Remember, we rarely get to where we're going in life on our own. And all of us need some form of help from one time or another. That's why it's essential to instill the value of giving back as part of your knowledge transfer process. Now, one way to build a tradition around your family narrative is to bring the family together to support the cause that's tied to the support you received early on in your life. This could include funding scholarships at your local community college or providing support to counseling or family therapy centers. Either way, whatever your chosen endeavor, your aim should be to teach the next generation not just the importance of wealth, but also its power to affect change. At the same time, this approach imparts skills related to altruism, decision-making, and understanding the broader positive impact of money that will be essential for stewarding your wealth for generations to come. And so, where do you start? Well, you can start by identifying causes that resonate with your family's values or your family history. Here again, think about specific challenges your ancestors may have faced that you'd like to address at this very moment. Or if you'd rather not think about a situation from the past, then maybe consider a modern-day social issue that you're passionate about and you want to support. And if you need more help on figuring out how to give wisely, be sure to check out our resources on how to develop a solid giving strategy. Either way, your philanthropic ventures should be more than just donating money. It should encourage family members to volunteer their time and talents, which can foster a deeper connection to a cause and instill a genuine understanding of the small dent that your family is making in the universe. When it comes down to it, passing down wealth from one generation to the next is simple, but it's not easy. To be sure, many well-intentioned individuals strive to build generational wealth, but years on down the road, their efforts end up falling short. And here again, it's not for lack of planning, but often it's because of a lack of knowledge and buy-in from heirs generations down the road. You see, generational wealth isn't just about bank balance sheets or real estate holdings. It's about distilling the grit, the perseverance, and the deep thinking that allowed you to build your wealth, and then sharing that knowledge with your family through stories and experiences and values. Indeed, while it might seem daunting now, just know that the value in the traditions and the rituals and the teachings that you're instilling today can ensure that each successive generation takes one step closer to becoming the masters of their own financial independence journey. Well, that's it for now. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the Fi Mastery Podcast. To learn more about today's topic, you can visit the episodes page at fimastery.com. And if you can find one person in your life who would find today's message helpful in getting their financial house in order, please share this episode with them. But until next time, I'm Peter Donisanu, wishing you and yours abundant health and prosperity.
The Fi Mastery Podcast is brought to you by Franklin Madison Advisors, Inc. Franklin Madison Advisors is a registered investment advisor firm with its registration and principal place of business in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Registration of an investment advisor does not imply a certain level of skill or training. This commentary and forecast are limited to the dissemination of general information pertaining to Franklin Madison Advisors' investment advisory services and general economic and market conditions and are subject to change without notice. The information shared today is not intended to be personal, legal, investment, or tax advice, or a solicitation to buy or sell any security or engage in a particular investment strategy. For additional information about Franklin Madison Advisors, including fees and services, please contact Franklin Madison Advisors or refer to the Investment Advisor Public Disclosures.